Welcome to episode 21. We're old enough to drink of the Old Fashioned Podcast. I'm Kevin, joined by Mike and Rob today. Hi, Rob.
Hi.
Hi,
Rob.
How you doing?
Hi.
How's South Carolina?
Hot as fuck.
Attic fan hot?
Do you have the attic fan on?
Literally kill me.
What's that?
Attic fan would literally kill me. Like I would just be dead in a corner in a bloated heap.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean that's me on a normal day, but I would be dead.
bloated
I would
heap.
be dead on top of it all.
A bloated heat of sweatpants. Have you moved to like athletic shorts yet, or are we still in sweatpants?
Oh, we're on shorts. We're on
Okay,
shorts.
good. I would say once you went
watch
south
them-
of Virginia, it
I
should
watch
be
them once a week or so, and just
good.
carry on.
Well, today we're going to talk about a few different things, but specifically the big one is Mike really wanted to talk about Rob's impressions, more so Rob's than mine, because Rob is in Endgame in Final Fantasy, and go from there. Mike and I started Castlevania, so we'll touch on that, which we both, Mike's seen all of Castlevania. I've seen season 1 and 2, but we're going to kind of go back and watch. And then there's a few other regular normal crap that we do. But this episode, as always, is brought to you by delicious King's Coast coffee that I am drinking right now, and hopefully you are too. It's delicious.
I am.
Oh,
Which one are you drinking, Rob?
I always go for unfortunately, the what is it called? I don't want to get copyrighted. I don't want you guys to get in copyright trouble. The sports team one.
Lamplighter. That's what
Lamplighter?
I
that
love
one.
that.
I couldn't remember
Yes.
the name.
Lamplighter.
Yep, that's my coffee of choice. And not recently, I've always preferred. I don't know if this is weird or not, but even when I'm sitting at home on my desk, because I never leave my house, I went to Sam's Club and I bought these disposable to-go cups with lids, and I truly prefer drinking my coffee out of these than over a mug.
Why?
It's a good question. I have no idea. I just like it. I like the little hole in the top. It reminds me of like Starbucks or something, which to me is a good thing. I know you guys always give me shit for it. And it keeps it hotter longer too because it's a lid.
I have gone to, there've been 2 days where I'm running around and I didn't have King's Coast, so I ran out of King's Coast. I had to go to Starbucks. So Pete told me, order this. It was basically an Americano, but made in, whatchamacallit, in a, I forget what it is. The glass thing. What's it called?
A Chemex? Like a pour over glass?
Pour
thing?
over, thank you.
Yep.
So make it in a pour over. And,
A pour over Americano?
yeah, with two shots, I think you said.
Is that literally how you order it?
Yeah, you go in there. But the ones in Florida look at you like you have 10 heads. And then they start
We don't
fighting
have
with their
culture
manager
here.
because they're like, we can't make a pour over Americano. And the manager's like, yes, we can. It causes this whole big stir. So it's just, I've given up. But Pete was like, it's actually pretty good if they make it right.
I'm gonna have to ask because I don't like the taste of Starbucks.
I don't either.
I don't.
Well,
I
you can get in a regular Americano. You don't need to have it be a pour over on top of it, and they're pretty good. It's just espresso with water in it, basically.
I know.
Yeah, but I to me, I don't know. I don't like the taste. It's just very like most of their coffees to me taste burnt or bitter.
But it's not coffee. It's literally shots of espresso.
I know. But I'm saying in general, from what I've experienced from them,
Oh, okay, sure.
leads me to believe that anything additional they have to offer, I probably also would not enjoy.
I guess.
No, the Americano is very different from their coffees.
I will try it.
Yeah.
I will
If you
absolutely try
ever
it.
have to go there,
What's that?
if you ever have to go there, that's what you
Well,
should get.
I mean, if we have to like stop somewhere while we're out, that's Allie will typically stop there.
Yep. Do it. It's good.
What's Allie's order? Do you know it?
Nope.
The pink drink.
So
The diabetes cup, that one, Rob?
because she'll get it, and I'm like, we have coffee at home. I will brew it at home.
Not good enough.
So, oh.
No. My
When
wife
I was
gets
when I was visiting you last year, Kevin, I ran to Starbucks for everybody,
I remember.
and I asked, and they were like, "Can I have a pink drink with extra strawberries, please?" I was like, "Oh, I can't wait to order that."
That was for Audrey, right?
Selena.
Oh, it's for Selena. Okay, my
Yeah.
sister.
I was like, what the hell is a pink drink? I've never even heard of it before, but then I went there and it was on the menu, so it's like a thing. But yeah, it was not fun ordering that around a bunch of burly Tampa Bay men. Oh, you have a visitor.
Early Tampa Bay,
A
man.
dinosaur party? Okay.
Okay, Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's a bunch of girly men. Does Rob know he can't say that anymore? It's 2021.
I don't know. Everything's flipped over upside down so many times. I can't tell if it's up or down or left or right. Doesn't even matter.
Can't say what. Sorry, I was in the other room.
What's
disciplining my
wrong
children.
today?
No,
It's
we were
probably not
just
tomorrow.
laughing at your girly. Like I said, okay, Schwarzenegger when you said girly men, and then I said it's 2021. I don't think you can say girly man anymore.
Oh, I said burly men. So
Oh, it sounded like you said
was-
girly men,
it was more
and
of
I
a
thought you were quoting
compliment.
Schwarzenegger.
yeah, I was in the middle of Target in the middle of Florida ordering pink drink with extra strawberries.
Yeah, but okay, so the thing is, and this is what I've learned about Starbucks, is the ones in Target have shorter lines than the actual Starbucks. So if you do need to get Starbucks, going to one in Target will get it for you quicker than going to the actual store.
Yeah, but you spend more money when you walk into the Target one.
What are we talking, 50 cents? It's worth it to not sit there and waste half your day.
I mean, simply being in Target pulls money out of my
Not
account.
if you go by yourself.
Uh,
Unless you are weak and susceptible to the powers of Target, too.
No, I am not. In fact, Target infuriates me. I have an unnatural anger towards Target.
I wouldn't go that
No, it's
far.
not. It's natural.
Is it? Okay, good. I'm glad I'm in good company because,
unless you're female. If you're female, then
dude,
Target does
I
something
hate
too.
that store.
I don't
I
mind
had to
it.
go in there to find umbrellas. It took me an easy, smooth 45 minutes to try to find a fucking umbrella.
Target is great for cheap t-shirts that you know won't last you more than like 6 months, but they're fun. You know, like I got my Bob Marley shirt at Target. You know,
Your
whatever.
graphic tees.
Yeah. Let's see, you can get a Marvel shirt, get a...
Man,
Star
Allie has
Wars.
that. She's got the store memorized. She's like, yeah, they have a map. She sends me a picture of the map on their web. I'm like, this is useless. Useless.
The map is very
They're
stupid.
put on some. They give it an aisle number, but it's not in an aisle. It's on some obscure fucking kiosk in the middle of like a sock section. Makes no logical sense at all.
Is your Target a super Target, too?
What's the difference?
Groceries.
Yes.
One
That's
is
even
super
worse.
bad and one is just regular bad.
Their groceries,
I-
though, are actually pretty good. When Rob came last year, I got, like, I think it was 30 wings for, like, 15, 20 bucks.
They good wings?
Yeah,
Those wings
they
are
were
from
good.
Target. Ugh.
Were they? What did you like? Air fry them?
No, I grilled them.
Oh, okay.
But Rob hates grilled wings, so...
Do you?
No, not anymore. I only
Now
hate
he likes
Kevin's
them.
grilled wings.
It was just the way I made grilled wings, apparently.
Correct.
Good to know.
They were delicious, and you know it.
So are we doing grilled wings next month or no?
Yeah, we will. And I'm
Next month.
I'm gonna buy the Target. Mike is coming to Florida next month.
Yeah, dude.
I told you about this.
No, you didn't. You probably
Yes, I
talked
did,
to him
because I
about
told-
it in our chat, but I don't read that shit. 'cause
I
it's not
told
directed
you
to me.
about I told you specifically because I mentioned that we're probably gonna go to Halloween Horror Nights. This was before COVID was like, hey, what's up? I'm back.
Yeah.
And you were like, is everyone
Oh,
going?
I
I said,
remember that.
no, my wife and Allie are not gonna go because that's just not their thing. You're like, I can't go to Halloween Horror Nights without Lauren.
Yeah, because she really wants to go. So
So I don't
she's
even know if we're
very
going.
into
So.
that Halloween stuff.
Yeah, I remember trying to get you to come to fucking all the horror stuff around here, and it just never worked out.
Yep.
But you've been to Eastern State, right, Rob?
Yep.
And that's by you, isn't it, Mike?
Mm-hmm.
I've
We
never
really
been.
wanted we wanted to go to the Halloween thing for that. That was on the mini bucket list, but it just
There's a
the
bunch.
timing
There's
never
that.
worked
There's
out.
Penhurst. There's a bunch.
I'm sure you got stuff in South Carolina.
No, it's
Haunted
House,
cornfields.
it's House of a Thousand Corpses here, like literal,
Actual House of a Thousand
You live
unironic
it
House
every
of a
day.
Thousand Corpses.
all year round. Don't even have to wait for Halloween.
He sees the creeper van go by. He just waves.
Just drive 5 miles west. There, I'm there.
Captain Spaulding's gas. Nope, not stopping there. Oh man, I haven't. I know you guys love those movies, but I saw them both once, and I'm good. I don't think I'll ever go
sad?
back.
They're good.
But I don't like modern horror. We've had this discussion before. I'm not into it. I think my cutoff is probably the 70s with like those werewolves movies.
Yeah, those are just comical.
Yeah, those are
but
so bad, dude.
That's the stuff and then like the old black and whites, like House on Haunted Hill and the original Frankenstein and all that stuff.
I love those.
Yeah, those are great, but I don't know. I can't get into modern horror. What's your favorite? I forget what the name of it is.
Didn't we do a whole episode on this last time I was on this show?
Yeah, but I think that was the last time with Halloween. That's what makes it funny. But everywhere's
funny,
decorating for Halloween, so you can't get Halloween out of your mind.
Sam's Club has Christmas shit out. I'm like, bro.
What? What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. They had one section of ribbons, various assorted ribbons and gift wrap.
No.
Oh my god! I was getting upset. I went to Dunedin, which is like a little beach town here last week, like one of those small town USA type things. And I went in one of the stores, and it was just all Halloween. The second I walked in the door, I'm like, too soon. It was just my birthday. It's not time for Halloween yet.
That's not okay.
September 1st, go nuts. That's how I feel. Just give me
For Halloween?
Give me August. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Just like the day after Thanksgiving, or probably the night of Thanksgiving, I'm putting Christmas music on. Like that's all fine to me. Do that. Just give me the end of summer. I don't want to be swimming in a pool. Well, I live in Florida, so this is a bad example, but swimming in a pool with Halloween decorations, like I'm not into it.
I just step outside and I'm immediately swimming in a pool. Without there being a pool.
I that kind of heat. Well, when you live in a place like that, you just live inside as much as you can.
Yep.
It's the opposite of the North. The North is they're inside during the winter. We're inside during the summer. Mm-hmm. And then in the winter, we're out and you're all either doing winter activities or huddled around a fireplace.
Even when we were living in Texas, it was you would step out, and I love Texas. It was awesome. But when you step outside in the summer, instant drenched.
Yep.
I mean, you immediately started sweating.
There's something about it, like New York. Like it's more depressing being in all winter than it is being in during the summer, though, to me. Because the summer you have the option to go like in a pool or something, but when you're in for the winter, it's because like it's so uncomfortable outside and there's nothing you can possibly do to warm up outside.
I wonder if that's like part of just like the seasonal depression.
Definitely.
I mean, I love the winter.
Now I'm just plain depressed. I don't have seasonal depression anymore, so that's good.
Oh, okay. There you go. We do a lot of winter activities though, snowboarding and up the mountains, and I mean, we went camping last year in the middle of November.
How was that?
I like that stuff. What's that?
How was that?
Cold. But otherwise, it was pretty good. So you like amass all this gear. Mm-hmm. And it's like I buy cold weather shit, but I never got a chance to like test the cold weather shit. So I did it, and it worked pretty well.
I love camping. I've only ever gone camping like twice, but both times it was amazing.
We just started Boy with us, and the dog. So we take the kid and the dog, and it actually worked out really well. We started out some like local spots close by, so that if we had to bail out, we could.
Who's more work, Lacey or Grayson?
I want to get a camper. Camper is like the
Lacey
dream.
just sat there. She was awesome. I think it was more work because it started to rain 2 nights that I had to like get her into the truck so she wouldn't get wet.
Does she you have to tie her up or because her primal instincts kick in or anything?
We have a long lead. If she sees a deer, she'll take off
You're
after.
talking about Allie or the dog?
Yes. The dog. But Allie doesn't want to go camping without them now. Like that's like she liked it so much.
That's cute. We want to do a winter camping session here, but I think I need Jules to be about one year older.
It's probably way nicer winter camping.
Dude, you're gonna wake up in the middle of the night. She's gonna be like fighting bears and winning in the woods.
Oh yeah. Her and Teddy are they're gonna be like a WWE mixed tag team or something at some point in their life. They're nuts, both of them.
They're gonna come back covered, like they're gonna be like in like ghillie suits, but like actual leaves.
I was dying the other day when Pete was talking about Teddy doing prison pull-ups on the bar.
He he's scary. Like I'm concerned about him. Like he's got a knack for killing flies. I don't understand what it is. I don't know if he's fast or sneaky or both, but he's like our designated fly swatter in the house. And like he'll be like, "Hey," he'd be like, "Mama, it's a fly." And she'd be like, "Okay, you know, blah blah blah." Because when you see a fly, chances are you probably can't get it. You have to wait for it to like slow down. It has to be in your house for a couple of days. And she's like, "It's a fly, blah blah blah. Leave it alone, blah blah blah." And like 10 minutes later, Teddy goes quiet, and like 10 minutes later, he comes up to her with a dead fly between his fingers, and he just looks up at her and goes, "It's dead." Just like stone cold, "It's dead," holding it, showing her.
The silent assassin.
It's like the ninja music from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles play when he says like dun 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 dun. He's like, "It's dead," and just holding it up to you.
Yeah, exactly. And
Did you catch it between your fingers?
He's a very scary kid.
It's awesome.
Dun, 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 dun.
We always say he's either going to be a very successful CEO or in jail. Or both.
Now, when you wake up in the middle of the night, is he standing on the side of your bed?
No, that hasn't happened yet, thankfully.
All right.
Yet.
Yeah.
Hunter's done that to us.
Just rocking.
No. He'll come. He's coming to my room at like 3 a.m. and he'll stand there and he'll go, "Dad, Dad, Dad, Dad." And if I still don't, he'll start poking, and I'll hear it in my dream. Then he starts poking, and what do you want? What do you want? Why are you here? He's like, "The light went out in my room." Son of a bitch.
Go to bed.
All right, I got a question for you both before we go on to the scheduled stuff. Are you ready?
Ready.
Rob, you can answer first. This is a would you rather.
Oh, God.
I don't want to.
Would you rather spend
I'd
the
rather
night?
not answer this question.
Would you rather spend the night in a dumpster or a porta potty?
Easy.
Dumpster or porta potty?
Mm-hmm.
Are we talking about like a Dunkin' Donuts dumpster?
A dumpster or a porta potty? You can.
I mean, I've spent
create
the
the
night
scenario
in a
how
Dunkin'
you
Donuts
see
dumpster
fit.
before, so
So okay, let's say a Dunkin' Donuts dumpster. What goes on in the Dunkin' Donuts dumpster that makes you want to
they
jump in
throw
there?
out perfectly. I'll just have you know they throw out perfectly good donuts that just don't sell. So,
End of every night.
Yes, we know.
dumpster, hands down. I don't want to sleep in piss and shit. I'd rather sleep in like garbage. 100%.
Dumpster, hands down.
Yeah, it's like a no-brainer.
A, I mean, you become a trash panda. That's awesome.
That is pretty cool.
B, I've seen way too many porta potties be flipped over. No.
You can pick up dumpster veganism too.
There you go. Trash panda all the way.
I remember when we toured with Me Without You, and I learned that 2 of them were dumpster vegans, and that was my introduction to dumpster veganism.
That is so
This is my introduction to dumpster veganism. What the fuck is that?
So dumpster vegans only eat things that have been thrown away when it comes to meat. So discarded meat is the only meat they eat.
What is the why? Why?
Because hold on, I'm gonna look
Like
it
at
up.
that point, like at that
I don't want to
point, why
butcher
not just
it.
be a forager? Like why not like go out and pick up mushrooms?
Dumpster vegan.
That's weird. There's some kind of like, well, the animal died and we didn't want it to go to waste kind of thing.
But
Dumpster diving and dumpster veganism. Hold
That's
on.
like like that's veganism completely based on activism, not health or anything.
All right, this is a post on Reddit. Okay.
Oh,
It's called
perfect.
Dumpster Diving and Veganism. I've been dumpster diving for a little over a year now, and I can tell you from firsthand experience that it's absolutely fucking disgusting how many perfectly edible slaughtered animals wind up in the garbage. Being broke didn't matter. I ate like a king every day and night. In one round, I could have 2 full pizzas, a bag of donuts, and all I could carry in pre-made breakfast items that survived until the designated lunchtime at whatever given establishment, because God forbid they sell a sausage McMuffin after 10:30. It's enraging the amount of available food thrown away simply because it can no longer produce a profit when there are people starving in the same city. But then you think this was a creature that was born into slavery and pumped full of hormones until it reached the most profitable flesh to bone ratio. At which point it was impersonally slaughtered, butchered, and sold, only to wind up in a rotting landfill. There's more, but you get the idea.
Sounds like some kind of twisted fan fiction.
A copy pasta.
Yeah.
First of all, the first couple foods he named don't even necessarily have meat in them. So I don't. What the fuck? Donuts?
The way it was, well, I guess while you're in the dumpster, you can, it's kind of an anything goes. But I guess the vegan part is that you won't eat meat.
I mean,
outside of the dumpster.
I get the Activision part behind like the farming of animals like that. I can grasp that. The landfill part, like there is a, I don't know what the answer is to disposal of waste beyond that. Like you could say incinerate, but you run into an atmosphere problem when you start incinerating shit. It has to go somewhere. Landfills right now, as they stand, while probably not pleasant, there is a use for everything that is decomposing in the ground. That gas gets siphoned, it gets cleaned, and it gets sent off as a secondary energy source. Full plants are run off of that gas.
So you're saying you're going to continue eating meat outside of a dumpster?
Correct.
Okay.
That's the bottom line.
But yeah,
I mean, I'm full on board. Like, if McDonald's has sausage egg McMuffins that aren't used, why can't you bring them down to a shelter?
this is the Seinfeld episode, Rob. The top of the muffin to you.
Oh my god. It's not
And
top of the
whoever
muffin to
keeps
you.
bringing muffin stumps and leaving them out for the homeless to eat. What do you think? The homeless aren't good enough for the top of the muffin too?
Muffin
God,
tops
that-
are amazing.
Everything in life leads back to that show. That's what I've figured out. Almost 40 years on this planet, everything leads back to that show.
I was just having a conversation the other day about arrogant people who deserve every ounce of their arrogance.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, arrogant people are like a turnoff, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I don't have time for you, right? But there are those who have elevated to a status that their arrogance is excusable. Like, no, you deserve to be at that level.
Yes.
And like Jerry Seinfeld's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I feel.
I mean, I've heard he's a huge asshole now. Like,
Yeah, I'm sure he is. But at what point are you like, I mean,
he doesn't care.
yeah, you kind of get a pass. You're Jerry Seinfeld.
He's making more off syndication than he did off of doing the show.
Which was like, good for you, dude.
Yeah. The summer I started watching it, I must have been like, 28, 29. I just all of a sudden was like, I'm going to watch Seinfeld. And then I was laughing because I thought it was the funniest show in the world. And Rob was like, yeah, I've been watching this for years, bud. But yeah,
Right.
let's go through every joke. Let's do this.
But
You
like,
remember that,
People
Rob?
yeah. I can't stand like Jerry Seinfeld now though. Like, I don't like whether or not he's earned his arrogance. Like, it's so off-putting to me, and he's got such a fucking punchable face that I just can't with him.
He's also not the reason the show's successful. He's the worst actor on the show.
Yeah.
He is.
Like, if he was involved in the writing, which he was, obviously, and the
Right.
idea and all that kind of stuff, perfect. But, like, I don't know. I just, like, I don't know if it's taboo anymore, but, like, if you look at, like, I don't remember which one of Louis C.K.'s shows it was, but, like, he was, I'm assuming, a writer because a lot of them were based on his jokes. And his acting was also really good in the show, like, believable.
What, Louis?
Yeah. I think it was Louis.
I like that show.
Yeah. I don't know. You can have both, and it annoys me a little bit that he's so arrogant and didn't have both. I don't know.
But that's why I like Curb, because Curb is basically Seinfeld without Jerry.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why
I never
Curb is-
got too into it, but I watched a couple episodes. And
You have HBO Max now, bud.
Is it? It's on there?
Uh-huh.
It's an HBO show,
That
right?
is probably one of the best streaming services.
Yeah, I just signed up for... My Amex was doing a deal. I signed up for a year and get $30 streaming credit.
I mean,
was
it
like,
shows
pretty worth
you.
it, dude.
Curb proves to me that it shows you who was actually doing the writing and the joke. I'm sure Jerry did some of the writing, came up with plenty of ideas. His name was on the show, blah, blah, blah. But he's definitely not the reason that show did so well.
Yeah.
No, the writing is the reason it did so well, because it was literally about nothing.
But then the execution of the writing by Michael Richards, Julia Louise Dreyfus, and what's George's real name? I'll never remember. Jason Alexander.
Jason
But
Cassandra.
financially to set it up the way he did. I mean,
Oh yeah, he had the perfect contract for that.
yeah.
But even the side characters,
that was his. I mean, sure, his lawyers, but
even the side characters in Seinfeld, you have the soup Nazi, the Dream Cafe guy, all of these side characters are iconic because Larry David went and handpicked them. The ribbon guys.
Fair.
Who won't wear the ribbon?
I don't know. There's just some people who have elevated like to that status.
Because you look at, and it's probably because his name is on the show. You look at a show like Cheers. Ted Danson is not in the same scenario as Jerry Seinfeld, but he was the star of Cheers.
Right.
So I think Jerry got very lucky. That's my point. Is I don't think it was him. I think he just was in the right place, right time, right scenario.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents. Because his stand-up is not that great. He's not a great comedian.
No.
He's good. He's not great.
You know what I've been listening to recently? And I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on this person. But early 2000s Dane Cook.
That's nostalgic.
Really?
I've been listening. I listened to two of his albums. The one that like got him really famous, and then the one I think was the Vicious Circle or whatever at Madison Square Garden.
I remember that.
The one that got him famous was the one with Justice Files on it, right? I love Justice and I love Files.
That was basically his short stint at.
Then he acted briefly.
Top. Yeah, he did a couple movies.
I've been watching Daniel Tosh and Jim Gaffigan a lot lately. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah.
Tosh's stand-up is pretty good.
Tosh's stand-up is great. It's better than his show, in my opinion.
I agree.
And then Jim Gaffigan is like, if you have a family, Jim Gaffigan is the best comedian on the planet. If you have a family,
I have not seen any of his new stuff. He consistently does that like voice,
the crowd
all
voice
the time, and it's like the same.
He doesn't do it as much, honestly.
Really, he stopped. Okay, so
I haven't
seen his new stuff, so it kind of got like.
It's not his whole act anymore.
Okay, all right.
He'll do it occasionally. Watch. There was one. There was one he did. It's on Prime. He did a live show in Canada, and he did it all about Canada. And he was like, "Oh, we stopped over in Regina," and someone was like, "Actually, it's pronounced Regina." And he goes, "No, it isn't." And I'm not going to say that.
Okay. This is before it was always about. I really like food. Why do I like donuts so much?
He still
okay.
He still makes fun of his weight.
What he would do all the time.
The fry bread.
And then once you realize
though.
there's a pattern, that's all you can hear at that point.
Exactly.
You're like waiting for him to do that thing again. That's all you're doing.
Yep.
You're not even listening to what he's saying.
Yep. And so I kind of tuned him
I wonder
out
if that
in that
is
world.
that a thing with like clean comedians. Like I remember Brian Regan was kind of like that too.
Yes.
Where he would like
It's
launch
exactly.
into like
It was the
those
same-
like
it was like the same
inaudible tirades where he's not like he's just making sounds and just yelling.
I think it's because they want to set themselves slightly apart from every other clean comedian. Because it's hard if you're not trying to curse that much. Which Jim Gaffigan is not exactly clean, but
It's not
give
even,
him
like,
another
cursing.
try, Mike. That's my point.
All right. Like I said, it's his new stuff I haven't kept up with. So
I mean, he's
Maybe
probably
he's-
if that's the last album you listen to, which is the one with Fry Bread, which is it sounds more like a command, a call to action. Fry bread.
I forget what his last.
If it's that one where you're talking about food, it's his special from like probably 10 years ago.
I mean, it was everything he did was about food almost.
His TikTok's hilarious too because he shows his kids like his old Comedy Central specials and stuff, and his kids just freaking make fun of him and rip him apart. And he's like, "Dad, you look like one of those thumb people from Spy Kids." He's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, I don't know, your neck just kind of goes into your head. And he's like,
That's awesome.
He's like, that's what a human neck looks like. What are you talking about? Anyway, let's talk about stuff. So, how many months ago now, Rob? 2, 3?
What?
When did we start playing Final Fantasy? You started a few weeks before me.
Yeah, I started.
June? Probably June. June sounds right.
For me, it was late May, I think.
All right. So Rob was getting sick of World of Warcraft, and he wanted, he always gets to that point where he wants a new adventure.
Mm-hmm.
He does the usual, I'm going to try SWTOR, and says, this is not for me, and then puts it down again.
Yep, I go to try SWTOR, and then it doesn't load.
ESO.
And then I have to edit the config files to get it to work. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
And then ESO, but then he complains about the combat the whole time. And then I mentioned Lord of the Rings. He goes, I would do it, but he doesn't like the way cooldowns work in the game. Okay. This time he decided.
Well, the game feels like it was made in 1880. So
yes, using Steam engines.
They literally steam powered.
So he decided to give Final Fantasy a whirl. I, of course, sat back because we have a chat, just the three of us, just for video games. And I sat back and acted like the two old men in the Muppets watching him play Final Fantasy. But then something happened, and he started to enjoy it.
Yeah, that no one expected.
It was very weird.
So go ahead, Rob. You have the floor here.
I don't want the floor. I hate having the floor.
Rob, I genuinely thought
so. Go ahead.
You were gonna dump it like you did. Like typically, what you do is when you. All right, I'm going to give this game a fair shot. And like 3 days later, something else releases. You're like, that's got my attention. And you drop it.
Well, I think that almost happened with
that to happen here.
The new PoE league, remember? And then you just,
yes.
I think you called me a FOMO son of a bitch or something.
Yeah.
Which is very true. That's me in a nutshell. So let's be honest. I'm probably going to dump it at some point. So I'm still going to dump it. But it was much better than I thought. And it really, it's the stereotype with Final Fantasy of you have to get through this, this, and this before it starts to get good, which is like, well, that's a stupid design because you're not going to retain new players if they have to slog through this bullshit to get to the quote good stuff. So, I got over the early game aesthetics and stuff like that. I tried to like hang out in cities a little bit, kind of like get like immersed. I really did like the music. So it didn't take very long before I just started skipping every single dialogue and cutscene though, because
it's a lot.
It's a fucking lot. Like it's like sometimes there's like a cutscene and then the quest hand-in happens after the cutscene's over. The cutscene's like 3 minutes, which is a lot. If you're not that into the story, a 3-minute cutscene might as well be an hour. And then like you get credit for like that quest step because you watch the cutscene, and then you have to hand in the quest. And the quest hand-in is right next to where the cutscene person was, and then it loads another cutscene, and it's like, good lord, just put some of this stuff in quest dialogues because for me, I am not huge on story. You guys know this. And for me, it's as kind of an older school MMO player, it is jarring and takes me out of immersion to constantly be brought into like this dialogue cutscene type thing. So while I try to appreciate the story of it when that happens, it's jarring to me every single time. And when they're kind of stacked up like that, I just want to skip through everything and log off.
I agree with you, which is rare in these occasions, but I agree with you from a different standpoint of it's one thing to give me quest text in WoW because I can just click accept and walk on my merry way. I keep having to hit the damn button because I keep having to read these novels that these people are talking about. And then they'll start talking and I'm like, okay, good. Now I don't have to read. And then randomly they go right back to not talking anymore. That bothers me and it drives me nuts. If you're going to be fully voice acted, be fully voice acted. That's what SWTOR and ESO do excellently.
Well, the reason 2.0 is not fully voice acted is budget. They did not have the budget when they decided to destroy 1.0 and rebuild the entire game from the ground up. It wasn't in the budget to have it voice acted the way it was. Now, in my mind, that would mean, okay, well, why don't we cut the story down then, right? But they didn't. And the storytelling in 2.0 all the way up to 3.0, the storytelling is drawn out. It doesn't feel, it just feels very disjointed. 3.0, which is Heaven's Word expansion forward, they really start to dial in the story, and the way it's told becomes a lot easier to swallow.
Yeah.
Have you seen that since you went right through?
So for me, they still have the silent cutscenes, which
Yes,
like to Kevin's point, the voice act cutscenes you can tell after a while they're the more powerful or more important ones. They obviously chose those ones for a reason. So like for example, when I was going through A Realm Reborn, whenever there was a voiced, my God, what am I like? This is old English. Whenever there was a voiced cutscene, whenever there was a voiced cutscene, I wouldn't skip that one because I knew that they thought it was important enough to put budget towards voicing it. Same thing in Heaven's Ward. It's still jarring to go back and forth between voiced and not voiced and silent. And to me, I think it would be huge if they just took the non-voiced ones out and made it quest text. Leave it up to the player whether or not they want to care about the story. It feels like they're trying to force the story on you when they do those cutscenes, and I think it's a turnoff for a lot of players, and it is for me. Because truth be told, the reason why I'm not really playing it that much anymore is because I've become the kind of gamer where I like to listen to music, or I like to watch videos on the game that I'm playing, or, you know, just about anything random. And Final Fantasy does not give me the opportunity to do that because I'm constantly having to have this hyper focus on all of these cutscenes that are back to back to back to back. Them. But then like the game is made assuming that you're reading all this stuff that's put in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And the quests themselves are like kill 4 of these or collect or go to the spot and wait for an ambush, which is fine. I kind of like that the quests are short, but like they're completely without meaning if you have no context. Even with context, a lot of them feel like they're without meaning, but that's normal for any MMO, so that's not like a Final Fantasy issue.
I'm trying to follow the story, but it's not engaging with me. The more I go outside and learn about the story, I get bits and pieces that keep me interested. Like last week, I mentioned to Mike how Rob, the calamity that they talk about is actually shutting down the old game. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
So the calamity they constantly talk about in the story is them shutting down 1.0.
Okay. I mean, that's cool that they made it into the story.
This is what happened to the world.
They made it canon.
Yeah.
And which is awesome. I think that's great storytelling, but you don't give I don't want to say you don't give a shit about the story, but you care less about the story than most people. It's more of a background device for your character to go on an adventure than the thing that you're playing the game for. And I get that. For me, there's too much reading. That's what it boils down to. There's too much. And you say you can skip it, Mike, but you constantly have to click. There's no button that you can hit that says skip.
That's why it should be quest text.
You know,
so you
I
have
also
the option.
And this is not Final Fantasy's fault, but whenever I go into a duty and there's story, like I did the Ifrit one the other day, I get a panic attack that the other players are going to get mad at me for sitting there and watching it.
No, that does not happen in Final Fantasy.
But I'm just saying that's how bad because even in SWTOR,
you've been conditioned.
Yeah, in SWTOR you do that. You go in a dungeon, and if you do not hit spacebar, and Rob, you know this, they just go hit spacebar, please, hit spacebar, please, hit spacebar, please. And then if you don't, they get mad at you.
The cutscenes, and especially in those early dungeons, are really long, like really long.
Yeah, because they wanted the dialogue to play into your RP for your character, and then they realized
and Final Fantasy does that at the end of A Realm Reborn, but they force everybody to watch the cutscenes. Nobody's allowed to skip it. Yeah. So you get to experience...
And that's specifically because it's so important to the story.
Yeah, and it is... Honestly, it's a little bit of a drag. I think that's kind of notorious for being a drag, though.
It is, and that's
why... or whatever it's called.
But that's why no one. So there's a roulette specifically for the Praetorian and Castro,
and it gives extra rewards though, right? Like
it gives crazy dumps of XP,
which is great design, great system design. I love that.
But you are investing an easy half hour to 45 minutes.
Yeah, if you breeze through it, which most groups do, but
it's fast now. Like you run through. And you're rewarded for your time, especially if you keep up on your food buffs. But that's a lot of time. You're getting a lot of XP, so you have to weigh, is it worth it or not? Most people will just run their leveling roulettes, their 50, 60, 70 roulettes, and their expert.
Generally speaking, the biggest thing with Final Fantasy is they are doing their best to keep the game like pure to what their original vision was, but trying to make it easier to get through. But like I think that they're either at or approaching some kind of breaking point where they need to overhaul like that A Realm Reborn situation.
So they did just technically overhaul. They cut out. There was a lot more. Like when I played through, there was a lot more bullshit, tedious quests that you had to do.
The second time I tried to play, this was before the last time, Mike, when I bought the expansion. The second time I tried to play, I was still on Twitch, I think. The second time I tried to play, there was no MSQ like fast walk you through it guide. It was just like WoW, where they just dropped you, or old WoW, I should say, where they just dropped you in and you're like, start picking up quests and leveling. You know, that's how you're going to get through this. And that was so annoying because I was in Limsa too. And I think I got to level 14. I was like, no, fuck this. I'm done. I'm not doing this. This game sucks. At least with the MSQ now, I am breezing through these areas. I'm getting to see more of the three main areas for, I'm assuming AAR is just those three areas, right?
Yes.
So I'm getting to see more of the three areas. So I've never seen Ul'dah before. I'd never seen Gridania before. And all I'd ever seen was Limsa. And as I've stated many times, I fucking hate Limsa.
Limsa, where the fuck am I? So
yeah. Yeah. So at least with the new way they do MSQ, it is much, much faster than what was previously experienced.
Definitely.
The downside is I'm level 34 or something. And I'm still doing level 20, I think, quests.
There's a couple things that kind of aggravate that whole circumstance. First of all, early on, before they revamped, because they did revamp 2.0, and I agree with you, Rob. I think it still needs work. It still needs to be condensed. I think there's a lot of just useless shit that I think needs to be pulled, and it needs to be streamlined. And I think WoW did a really good job with that first 10 to 12 levels that you get from their learning area. Granted, they're not trying to tell a story like Final Fantasy is. And, what the fuck is that introduction place called in... I
don't remember, but I know.
Whatever the hell the intro place is called. That you can't compare that to a full expansion, 2.x up to 3.0. So... But there's a couple of things aggravating the issue you guys both had, and one is that they increase the XP you gain from these quests, because early on you would actually have to do side quests to level up in order to do the MSQ. You'd have to run dungeons you would fall behind on your player level.
And about that, for me, I'm glad, like, I wouldn't be able to play Final Fantasy doing side quests. I can't function if my main quest, that's my main story, is constantly like being drip fed to me.
Right.
Once
and that's how it felt.
A day or something like that. I have to do like a main story quest and then like 20 side quests. And then I get the next chunk of story. Like I can't function that way. And the only reason why I was even able to get to where I am now in the game is because I was able to just do the MSQ.
And that's honestly, it's exactly as much of a slog, and I still think 2.x is a slog. It was even worse because you had to do so much extra shit just to continue through. So it made it that much longer.
Yeah.
But because we play on a preferred server, which is an XP boost in and of itself, you get your FC or your guild XP boost, you get your food XP boost, you get your gear XP boost. You're running off of like 5 or 6 XP increases, and that's not including your armory XP if you have a character already leveled up. So that's another XP boost. So you are fastly out leveling the content, like you're blazing through.
But that leads to the next issue for me. The toughest times that I've had in that game playing it are loving the experience boosts, loving being ahead of the curve on my level, when you finish the expansion and you're in the .x content, your experience literally goes from like 300k per quest to like 6k per quest, to the point where you're not advancing your character at all through like 40 to 50 quests, which takes a really long time. Like it takes weeks of playing a lot. You're not advancing your character at all. All you're doing is advancing the story. And to me, that's a design flaw where you need to make it. You need to make a decision. You either need to let people like figure out a way to let people still feel like they're progressing their characters through this .x content, or you need to cut out the story and figure out another way to tell it, because that feels forced to me and it feels like a band-aid.
It's an old system that hasn't been dealt with.
Right.
I think I agree with you, because why you don't feel like you're being rewarded, especially if you're not into the story. Then you're super feeling like you're not being rewarded.
Oh yeah. Like,
and it's
again,
why
in the Realm Reborn,
why am I doing this?
In the Realm Reborn, I was only doing those quests because I knew Heaven's Ward was next. I got nothing out of those quests. They were boring. I didn't like the story. I was just skipping everything. I was just trying to get through it. And that's, that's an extreme example because I don't really care about story that much. But like, but again, like this is another example. And this is what we were talking about with Lotro a little bit yesterday, Kevin. It's like these MMOs that came out a long time ago, they can't live forever on what was built originally. They need graphics updates. You can't just keep band-aiding things to try to drag people through all this old stuff. Blizzard has a lot of problems, and we won't get into that right now. But like, they know the right times where it's like, all right, enough's enough. Let's for this old crap, let's just give people choices on what they want to do, and they adjust over time, and they do pretty extensive graphics overhauls and stuff like that. It's a little bit different with Final Fantasy though, because they're telling a story like that has a start and a finish, whereas like WoW is a little bit more like, here's a story for this expansion. Okay, that story's done. Here's a story for this expansion. That story's done.
You're in WoW. You're the hero of Azeroth, and you're just waiting for the next thing to happen to Azeroth.
Well, I mean, you're the hero in Final Fantasy too, which is another point. Everybody's always talking about how like they hate being the hero but you're the warrior of light and you're famous in Final Fantasy as well. So there's that. But like the point that I'm making is like, it's harder for Final Fantasy to do that because it's all one kind of. It's the same characters in every expansion, at least to date. Like I've only done through Heaven's Ward.
Well, the next expansion is starting everything over, right, Mike? Or a completely new story.
Is so 6.0 itself is going to be the absolute end of this story arc from 2.0 all the way up, and 6.1 is a brand new storyline, totally new.
Like I'll say this, Kev. Like Heaven's Ward, I know that you're a story guy. The way the story is told is fairly similar, unfortunately. Like, you're still going to have silent cutscenes. You're still going to have voice cutscenes. There are a ton of cutscenes. But the story itself is better. There were literally points where, like, I almost teared up a little bit.
That's what I've heard.
Because it was so good. But, like, again, for me, like it's just the way I play games is different than it used to be. I don't just sit there on a single monitor with like that's all I'm doing. Like I just never do that anymore, and Final Fantasy doesn't really give me the opportunity to do other things like what I like to do.
Really? I mean, maybe it's because I'm at endgame though. I constantly I have Netflix up on one, I'll have my chat with you guys up on another, my other software going. Like I constantly have a bunch of stuff going on.
Yeah, it's tough when you're going through the story stuff for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, with WoW, I mean, now I didn't play, but it like up to through everything like you guys did, right? Expansion by expansion by expansion. But it seems like a lot of the time the story is very similar, where bad man comes, big army, we need to stop.
Yep. Story sucks.
Yeah, Burning Legion, and then
this Shadowlands,
the Undead, and then Deathwing and the
it's
Elementals.
Like the same thing over and over.
What was Pandaria? The Shah?
It was Garrosh.
Garrosh and the new hordes.
Yes,
What did you think about the combat though as you progressed?
Combat in Final Fantasy is fantastic. It's some of the best
I love
MMO
it.
content combat I've played.
I think combat is second to WoW. I think WoW's combat is much more fluid.
I don't think anyone's ever going to beat WoW, in my opinion. That's
I
where
don't think
I'm at.
so either. Nobody has yet.
Which is-
I don't know. I don't know what it is about it. It's just I find myself after playing Final Fantasy for a few days, just wanting to log on to WoW because I feel like I'm breaking out of a box and I'm free again. It feels like the combat in Final Fantasy is very slow, but the thing is, the rotations are much more complex.
That's the thing. I'd be interested to see how, if your opinion still holds true, if you're doing end game content
It wouldn't.
and trying to maintain your rotations.
Well, here,
If you still think it's slow.
that's different to me. Like the feel of combat is different than the complexity, and I can absolutely appreciate the complexity. Like on my red mage, I have pretty much
That's
all
fair.
of my skills. Like anything I get at this point is more of an upgrade to an existing skill that might throw one additional decision in there. But
Right.
yes, I've already been in spots where I have to try to maintain my GCDs with my off GCDs while avoiding all this different stuff and doing this mechanic. Like I would say that the boss fights are more interesting in Final Fantasy than WoW, for sure.
Yeah, I agree
That
with
doesn't
that.
mean the combat is better or more fluid, but the rotations are harder to learn, so I feel like there's probably a higher skill ceiling or lower skills, whatever it is. You know, it's there's more opportunity to be better at what you do because they're so
Right.
complex.
I love both. There's a reason why I still every day log into WoW. I like both for a different what I get from 14 I don't get from WoW, and what I get from WoW I don't get from 14.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like there's a great fantasy to the way WoW is handled with their characters, everything down to like your three different talent trees, right? Which is kind of great and a weakness because they just can't seem to balance for shit. I don't know what it is, but they just can't seem to fucking get it balanced.
Blizzard?
Yes.
Yeah, because they have too much stuff going on now. And
There's a lot going
everybody's
on.
told them that before Shadowlands came out. They're like, you're implementing too many systems with too many different abilities. You're not going to be able to balance this. And
The systems is a huge problem for
Oh, yeah.
me. And
It's huge.
like not in comparison to anything else. Just if I want to play World of Warcraft, these systems fucking suck.
Yep.
Like it hurt. I have 3 or 4 characters now at 60. I get them to 60 and I'm like, I don't want to do this again.
Yep.
Basically, I'm leveling characters because I enjoy leveling process and for fucking seasonal events to farm.
Yep. And
Like
the story and the zones are uninteresting. You know, Blizzard has a problem, and I think it's on the back end fed by the money machine or the money making machine.
sure.
But they are way too focused on patch to patch content right now. Like if you go back and you play Classic or Burning Crusade, which is what I'm doing now, and I'm really enjoying it, is everything takes so much longer to get, and that makes it feel so good to get it. That one item that you're really trying to get that's not dropping for you, but you know, you're getting reputation from dungeons for doing it, which gives you other rewards. So like even if your thing doesn't drop, you still feel like it was worth doing that dungeon because you're getting like rewarded in some way. You're getting some badges that you can, you know, spend at a vendor. Like that's all stuff that used to be in WoW that they took out of the game. But like you get that item, so it feels great to get that item. If you don't get it, it still feels great because you got something for your efforts, even though it wasn't the thing you were looking for, and you try again the next day. And not only that item will last you for maybe even through the next raid tier. Like that raid gear might not be better than that thing that you get from some heroic dungeon. So it's worth going for because you know that you're not constantly going to be replacing all of your current gear from this patch cycle with new gear in the next patch cycle. You don't always have, like for me, I always have that in the back of my mind. It's like, why am I going to work for this thing when I could just basically not play the game use catch-up mechanics when the next patch comes out and have an easier time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Now for you, now the other thing is this whole borrowed power concept. Did you guys like that? Going from expansion to expansion, you play towards X borrowed power to obtain it, and then just lose it come next expansion.
I don't care as much about that as like other people do, but I do think that the game needs some kind of, maybe a single system in an expansion. And then what Blizzard used to try to do is they take that system, they try to incorporate it in an efficient way going forward, even if it's not exactly the same. Artifact weapons and Legion were a good example of that. That was one single system that wasn't extremely complex, that worked, I think, pretty well for that expansion. I'm okay with stuff like that, and I'm okay with some level of borrowed power, because the other option that you have there, like, either you do some kind of borrowed power system, or you just keep giving more abilities and more talents and more abilities and more talents.
And then you run into that balancing issue.
And then you run into balancing issues. Everything gets so like complex on that side of the house. So borrowed power kind of gets you away from having to continue to build this complex skills and talents and all that kind of stuff. So from that design perspective, I'm cool with it, but there's a limit. Like, you don't need 4 systems. You don't need the Covenant ability with the Covenant leveling, with the, you know, whatever the things that the soul binds. Like, you don't need all of that. You need like maybe one thing, like an artifact weapon that you can work towards over the course of an expansion. Sure, if you take it away at the end, that's fine, but like, they're just completely out of hand with this stuff now.
But see, now that, to me, that's the way to do it. So you introduce these covenants, which I had like real trepidation about in the beginning, and I'm not even like a super long-term WoW player. I had trepidations with that. But what if you did that? They bring in the covenants, they say, okay, here's your player's choice, right? We want to make sure that this is impactful, which is what they did, right? So you have ABC. You get your ability, and just the same way that they did it. But then what if they did exactly what you said? What if they introduced, like 14 has what's called a relic weapon, and every expansion has a relic weapon grind, and it is a grind, and it is fed throughout the expansion. So you're playing the story, right? You're also working towards your relic weapon on the side. You have your Covenant's ability. And then at the end of the expansion, after you've played with your Covenant ability, you get to keep all that cosmetic shit, right? And you've also finished your relic in this case, and your reward for that particular power increase is you keep it as a cosmetic, and then you move forward to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, is it not looking cool, the goal?
It is.
I mean,
that's what they did with Legion. Like, Legion, you got to keep your artifact weapon appearances that you unlocked.
And that
Legion.
system makes sense to me, but that's the system that I have in 14, and it makes sense. It works, and they don't have to worry about power creep or balance and all this other shit. I mean, there is power creep. They're scaling everything back, but as time goes on, it's going to happen. It's inevitable.
Yeah, power creep is inevitable.
Like, balancing these borrowed powered systems, it's basically taking 2 years of you playing, and it's making you ask the question, why? Because I'm just going to lose it. And if it's the same thing over and over and over again, why am I playing?
Right. And that's what a lot of people are asking themselves now.
It's a fair question.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I enjoy the leveling in retail WoW. I think you said that too.
Mm.
And I find that once I hit 60, I'm a little bit motivated and I'm going. And then after like 2 weeks, I'm like, ugh. It's like,
dude,
it just feels like it's not worth it.
Yeah. I'll log in. I'll be like, man, you know what? My warlock is like, I need to work on it. I'll log in and I'll be like, fuck, I have to go to the mall. Never mind, log out.
Exactly. I know exactly what you mean. I agree with you.
I hate that place. I hate that place.
Yeah, and it's especially jarring when you unlock the Korthia stuff and you can mount in the maw, but then you play an alt and you can't mount in the maw anymore.
Yep, that's exactly what happened to me. I went in with my pally. I'm like, oh my god, I can mount in here now. This is great. No more Jailer's Eye. This is great. They built a whole system not a system. They built a system and an entire area where they say, listen, in order to progress, you have to go here. You have to do shit. But then on top of that, we are going to be proactively discouraging you from being in here. Just so that you could spend the same currency on items and powers that delay the inevitable of you getting kicked out, to slow your progression on the other end of the shit that you're working towards.
Yep.
That is infuriating.
Yep.
Why? And they fixed it. It took the jailer's eye out, but now I have to farm. I have to go through all that shit with another character. And every other character I have at 60, I have to do the same thing. That's annoying.
Yep. You're right. It is. It's stupid.
I mean, there is something to be said because WoW has such amazing character races. There's so many that I enjoy and I want to play, and they all have different stories, and they all have just, there's so many great things to be said about having the different races and wanting to play those races. So the 14 system of having everything on one character, I enjoy. The WoW system of being able to create so many different types of characters, I enjoy. But for fuck's sake, there's a middle ground. There's a middle ground. A lot more shit needs to be account wide.
Agreed.
It's discouraging. It really is. It's discouraging. I wish I only cared about one character. If I cared about one player race in this game, I think I'd be all right, but I just don't. There's way too much cool shit to be had and to experience.
It's in a bad place, and they need to overhaul their whole design philosophy at this point.
And I don't think they will. When you have devs attacking the players for the way that they chose to do, which is scary because that tells you, everyone who's like an apologist and says, well, it's Activision. Well, this tells you it's not.
Right. I guess we'll see. I mean, they're hiring new people, but I feel like the game direction is not great, and it hasn't been for a long time, and it's kind of culminating now. And then the Blizzard lawsuit thing, obviously, it just blew everything out completely. I'm not playing retail. I am playing TBC Classic, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. Because it takes their old design goals into, they were pieces of shit, yes, and there's no denying that. But
well, right, that aside,
their design goals were based around fun back then, and it shows. And it's hard to put my finger on exactly what it is, but the core thing is that I know that the work that I'm putting in is going to be rewarded and not feel like a waste of time. And retail is not the same.
Right. I might fuck around and level a character in TBC, if for nothing else, that if they do decide to release Wrath, I'll be there for that.
Cool. You should.
Definitely. Let me ask you this
Wrath
before
is the
you,
best.
I know you have to skate, but before you do, will you continue 14 and play Endwalkers, or are you pretty much done?
I'm not done. I'm definitely taking a break right now.
Smart. I was afraid that you were going to power through and get burnt out and not want to ever touch it again. I would way rather you take breaks, because the game respects your time in that sense. You could take time off and come back, and you could catch up relatively quickly.
Yeah, I'm burnt out right now, but I'm not burnt out permanently. I started to play Stormblood, and I realized that I just didn't care about the story at the beginning that much, and I felt like it was just because I felt like it was just so many cutscenes and stuff like that. So when I felt like that, I was like, let me just step away for a little bit, and then that's when I took up Classic a little bit.
That's the way to do it. That's 100%.
The only thing I don't know about Endwalker is if I'm going to be able to get through all the Stormblood and Shadowbringers content before then, because I have to, right? you can't do Endwalker until you get through that stuff.
Correct.
Yeah. So
I wonder if that'll change when they release Endwalker, since it's a new story, if they'll give you the option.
maybe. That's a good question.
That'd be pretty. I mean, that's a way to fix it. You want to play through, hey, when you log in, would you like to play this story or this story?
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
The other thing that I'd like to see WoW embrace from Final Fantasy is the usage of old content. Time walking is not enough, in my opinion, for all the stuff that Blizzard has made in the past.
Yeah.
It's once a month for a week, and really all it is do your 5 and then you're done because you get your piece of raid gear.
Dude, I was so bummed.
Yeah, I like the system that Final Fantasy has where you're rewarded for going back and doing things that help players that are wanting to do those things. Like
Time walking should 100% be converted into a leveling experience.
Right. Exactly.
100%.
Exactly. So that's the other thing that Final Fantasy does really, really well that I'd like to see WoW do. But first and foremost, they have to get, like I said, they have to get out of that patch to patch thing that they're in right now, where you know that everything you're doing in this patch is going to be invalidated the second the next patch comes out.
Yeah.
So
it's a shame because I mean Shadowlands aesthetically is very cool. The gear and everything like that. 9 point from what everything I'm hearing, all like the big people talking about, it sounds like 9.2 is going to be it. And speculation of 9.3 not existing sounds more realistic in the sense that they can then pump out 10.0 on time. Which sucks because that's an entire expansion wasted.
Yep.
That sucks for the consumer.
All right, Rob, get out of here. I know you need to leave.
All right. I'm going to go take my kids to the pool.
You take your
have
kids
fun.
to the pool. Mike and I are
Yes.
going to stick around and talk about one more thing before we get out of here. But Rob, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, buddy.
guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Later, bud.
Should I just stop the recording?
Yeah, I'll tell you what to do with it after.
Okay. Thanks. Later, guys.
Later.
Later.
All right. Good to see Rob as always. But before we get
Always.
out of here, Mike, rewatch season 1 of Castlevania. If you'd like to go along with us, we're going to watch all 4 seasons. We'll do them one each week, hopefully.
Since it's canceled now.
I skated in and barely finished. I think it was yesterday. No, I finished it on Friday while I was eating some sushi for dinner. I looked up this one thing. I wanted to pull it up. Season 1. Okay, so if you've not watched Castlevania on Netflix, it is an anime, which is very uncharacteristic of me, but it's the first one I ever watched, and it's really, really good. The thing that I love about it is loosely based on Castlevania 3. What's the name of Castlevania 3? Castlevania 3 is Dracula's Curse. So it's loosely based on Dracula's Curse. And there's lots of cool Easter eggs and whatnot that throw back to the game and to vampires and the Dracula legends in general. One thing that I always thought about Castlevania was I thought it took place in a fictional universe. I come to find out, I did a little research, it is actually supposed to be Romania in the late 1400s. These are places, Wallachia and whatnot,
Wallachia?
that really exist in Romania.
Oh.
These are places that really exist in Romania. So it's pretty cool to see and compare. But first 4 episodes of season 1, we go through Dracula's Beauty and the Beast story, where he marries the human woman. She tells him to travel, and then she gets burned alive by the church.
Become a man.
Very apropos. And then he goes crazy and decides to summon an army. It takes 1 year, I believe, to summon an army of the darkest creatures of hell and whatnot.
Yep.
And then, Alucard, his son, tries to... Now, Alucard... So this is where I'm confused. Alucard's mom is the human, or Alucard's mom is someone else?
I assume his mom was the human, thus, or she wasn't, but he gained empathy for the humans through his dad's wife.
It's essentially stepmom.
Yes, it has to be something along those ways. I think he might have learned like love through her, but unless he just ages super quick, because when she died, she was not that old.
No, they looked like not much time had passed. And he had said he was traveling on foot. He wasn't flying everywhere. He was traveling like a human.
And it was a human aging. She, she wasn't transformed or anything. So, it didn't seem like that much time passed. At least not enough time for her to have a kid and be as old as Alucard is. So I don't think, now that I'm saying this or thinking it through, I don't think Alucard is her son. She's Dracula's son, but he learned from his mom, I guess. Mm-hmm. We're probably gonna get flamed for this, but
oh, sure, I'm sure. Now, one of the best things about the show is it does follow the video game idea that as Trevor is exploring, he runs into various monsters and whatnot that he has to kill, aka boss fights. The Cyclops being the first one, which is a fun fight. And then I don't know what that second beast is called. The one that eats the bishop.
Oh,
the one that's like, we're an army.
Yes.
I don't know what that thing's called, but that thing's pretty bad with the glowing teeth.
It looks like, I don't know what the name of it is. It looks like some sort of hellhound though.
It's pretty cool. One other thing about the show too is they don't hold back. It's very gory. It's
super gory.
True to what Castlevania should be, in my opinion. And if you are easily offended and religious, you will probably get your feathers ruffled.
Cerebus, I think, is the name of that.
Is it a Cerebus?
I think
that's usually a 3-headed thing.
I know. Cerberus. Unofficial name of a hellhound that appears as a mini boss midway through the first level ruins of the Castle Dracula.
Hound.
Could be wrong.
I'm just gonna do a quick Google search. Hellhound Castlevania wiki. So the hellhounds are the dogs.
Which it seemed like it's
was. It's called Blue Fangs.
Okay, I'm way off.
Yeah, it's called Blue. It's literally called Blue Fangs.
That's
Blue Fangs is a minor antagonist in the Netflix original series. That was created specific. Slain by Trevor and how do you say her name? Sifa? The speaker.
I forget. I literally just rewatched it with you, and I forget how he pronounces her name.
He goes in on that bishop though hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah. To back to what you were saying.
He's like, this is an empty box, and I was like, oof, that's rough.
If you are easily offended.
Yeah, if you're religious and easily offended, the show will offend you. If you can handle other opinions, ideas, and keeping in mind that this is a cartoon and fake, then you should be fine. But I figured I'd warn people.
There's bad people in all walks of life.
Amazing. The other thing I like is they keep true to the feel and the darkness of Castlevania.
Dude, it is mega dark.
When he's like talking to the villagers and going around, you get the sense it feels very much like the latter games, obviously, where there were NPCs, not the older ones. But there's just a lot of things that made it feel like a familiar to the game itself. I'm looking up the Easter eggs that I wanted to share with you.
If you read like a lot, because the show is essentially canceled now. The 4 seasons are all we're getting.
Oh, that's it? It's over?
Yeah, it's been canceled because what's his face he's been accused of sexual misconduct.
The showrunner?
Yes. Warren Ellis.
Yes, the showrunner.
Yes. So it's done. But a lot of people are calling it, one of the best video game adaptations.
I'd agree with that.
Right, which is surprising because it's coming from Netflix.
Yeah, but I think you're going to see, like, the Witcher one that's coming soon that tells Vesemir's story will probably do very well.
The animation looks very similar.
Yeah. There's a few other...
I'm excited for that.
There's a few others animated by the same studio that look good, too. Well, here are some of the Easter eggs that I pulled from online. In the opening scene, the skeletons on the spears, that is the real life Dracula inspiration from Vlad the Impaler. It's actually in Bram Stoker's Dracula as well.
Yep.
So that was a fun one. the Dracula's wife Lisa is in Castlevania Symphony of the Night. She doesn't make a physical appearance in the game, but she is talked about in the game. And one of the characters pretends to be her at one point. Dracula saying that his castle can travel. But, you know, obviously Lisa encouraging him to travel like a human. That is something lifted straight from the video game world as well. Let's see. Lisa's death is also talked about in Symphony of the Night, the bishop killing her and burning her at the stake. Lisa's crucified in Symphony of the Night in a flashback. She's not burned at the stake. My apologies. Alucard's plea to Dracula. When Dracula decides to summon an army from hell in order to destroy humanity, he's confronted by his son. Though this scene isn't explicitly shown in the game, it has been referenced. Within the game's mythology, Alucard was able to speak to his mother shortly before her death, so Lisa is his mother.
Okay.
There's a brief moment in the series intro which suggests this moment occurred off-screen within the show. Lisa used her dying words to pass along a message meant for Dracula that is similar to the speech Alucard gives in the show.
Yeah, sure as shit. Lisa is his mother. Wow. They didn't age her in the show at all. So that's an old ass son. Maybe vampires just age super quick.
Or, I don't know, maybe they become adults super quick? I don't know how that works. Dracula's teleportation beam, his thing that gets him around, is a move he does in Castlevania 4 when you fight him.
What was this? The teleportation beam?
Yeah.
Where did we see that?
It's when he goes to the house and it's burnt down. He tells the old woman like this is the last kindness,
yes.
and then he
goes up in the fire pillar.
Yeah, that is a move he does when you fight him in Castlevania 4.
That's cool.
Trevor's crest and clothes. The crest is hinted at the artwork from earlier Castlevania games. It resembles the crest used in the reboot in Lords of Shadow. The design of Trevor's garb in the show seems to be a blend of Gabriel Belmont, who's the character you play as in Lords of Shadow, and Leon Belmont, who you play as in Lament of Innocence. We talked about that. When this is interesting. I didn't even see this. When Trevor's speaking to the village swordsmith in episode, I believe it's 2. Yes, 2. We get a brief glimpse of his wares. It seems that the merchant might procure swords from other famous fantasy worlds. So Longclaw from Game of Thrones is behind him, and Anduril from Lord of the Rings is also behind him.
No way.
Yeah, I see Anduril in this shot. It's actually pretty cool. I love that. Trevor removing his cloak in episode 3. In Castlevania's 3rd episode, Trevor removes the cloak he's been wearing for the coming battle. Not only is the scene symbolic of Trevor shedding his shame and embracing the Belmont legacy, but it bears striking resemblance to the scene at the beginning of Castlevania 3 where Trevor removes his cloak shortly after praying. Cyclops' I-Beam. Fun for game fans who appreciate the show's dungeon crawler structure and video game-like battles. Of course, the centerpiece of the episode is a battle between Trevor and the Cyclops. The Cyclops battle does occur in Castlevania 3. The Cyclops in that game isn't able to shoot beams from his eyes. This ability seems to be a reference to 2 other notable I-beam shooting creatures in Castlevania, Balor, and some of the versions of Medusa that you face. What's her name? Sifa or Sypha? How do you say her name? The speaker.
I think it's Sifa.
Sifa is in Castlevania 3. She's one of the main characters. And then in 4... the memorable scene in the 4th episode where one of the demons named Blue Fang confronts the bishop. This exchange brings to mind a few pieces from Rondo of Blood, which is one of the Castlevania games, where Dracula suggests that he's not truly evil and that it is the hate and evil of men that grants him power in life. He also insults humans for letting their faith rule them, which seems to be the basis for the church's role as villains in the series. Blue Fangs is a reference to... he's a reference to something in the games. He probably is. The trouble is hard to tell exactly what the creature's a reference to. One theory states that he's a callback to the wargs from Symphony of Night. Others think it's a callback to Pazuzu, the devil-like boss in Harmony of Dissonance. He's likely just a mixture of both. Apparently, when the demons are on the roof, it's the same opening scene from Rondo of Blood. And then it talks about how Alucard's in Symphony of Night and blah, 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 blah. So it's unfortunate that the gentleman who made the show is turning out to be in the situation he is. I don't know anything about it, so I can't really talk about it.
I don't know anything about it. I just saw that it was canceled for that reason.
But he really did his homework when it came to the games and brought that into this animated universe. And I appreciate that, which goes back to what Mike said about this being one of the best video game adaptations of an animated series that we've seen.
Yeah. So many of them just fall so short.
Yeah, and again, if you want to try it, the first season is only 4 episodes and they're like 25 minutes long, so you can finish it in 2 hours
roughly,
and see if you like it. If you like those first 4 episodes, I've watched season 2, which gets way crazier.
It progressively gets more and more intense.
Yeah, because you start to meet more vampires and all sorts of stuff. The fight between Trevor and Alucard was awesome.
I thought that was a great fight at the end.
The dialogue is what makes that fight. Trevor's great. Trevor is voiced by Richard. Is it Richard Armitage, who played Thorin in the Hobbit movies? There's actually lots of notable voice actors who will start recognizing voices with all of these characters and be like, I recognize that voice. That's so and so from this. Right. But it's a great show. It was honestly the first anime that no one was like, Kevin, go watch this, that I watched on my own. Actually, Mike, you were the one that said watch it, you'll like it, but you didn't say it because it was anime. You said it because Castlevania. And I did, and I ended up liking the first 2 seasons. So next week, I'll blow through season 2 this week, and we'll talk about season 2, which is 9 episodes, so it'll be a bit more to talk about.
I'll rewatch that as well. There's going to be a lot more in season 2.
Yeah, this is definitely laying the groundwork, getting you introduced into the world, the characters, etc., etc. I had mentioned to Mike too, I love how the beginning of this is literally like Beauty and the Beast, just with a really dark, terrible twist and not a happy ending, with Dracula and Lisa. So I'm excited to dive into season 2 again, re-meet, because I don't even remember the characters from season 2. I just remember it being nuts and there being a lot more vampires. And then see the new stuff in a few weeks on 3 and 4. Labor Day will probably be the week that there is no episode. Let me see. Look at this calendar here, because I'm going to King's Coast to see the space.
Nice.
2, 3. So yeah, we might skip a week or 2, but we'll finish it, and then we'll jump into another show or movie, and we'll start watching that. We will talk about Suicide Squad next week. We ran out of time. We really wanted to this week.
Oh yeah.
But we'll talk about Suicide Squad next week. Mike saw it. I saw it. We both loved it. And Weasel is the best character. If you've seen it, you know why. You all have a great week. We'll catch up with you again soon for episode 22. Thank you, Rob, for joining us.
Thank you.
And you can check out Mikey's metric_methods with a Z on Twitter. Everything I do is on raredrop.co. Make sure you go get that King's Coast coffee at kingscoastcoffee.com. And have a great week, and we'll talk to you later.
Later.